Hello, America. Welcome to Your Leo Nation. I am the chief, the retired chief, the happily retired chief, California Highway Patrol. And here at Your Leo Nation, you know that we believe in and support the rule of law. And where do our laws all stem from? The Constitution, the Bill of Rights specifically as it pertains to today's conversation we're going to have with a great guy, Marvin Peavy. Marvin Peavy is right down the road from where I moved to here in Florida in the Panhandle. And what a fantastic neighbor and really a supporter of the Constitution. Marvin, thank you so much for being on today.
Well, thank you for having me today.
We are excited. So a lot of you probably recognize his face, recognize his name, or both. Marvin's become we were talking about it offline a minute ago, quite a TikTok sensation and in other platforms as well. But Marvin, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, but you have become well known for really, I think, exercising your First Amendment rights with some very special signage on your house here in the Panhandle, in the Emerald Coast of Florida. And we're going to get into that, trust me. And I know you have a lot to say, which I'm so excited about. But I want to kind of set the stage here a little bit. You know, I've talked to this audience, quite a bit about having spent 60 years in California. And I've been here in the Panhandle, the Emerald Coast specifically, for just over a year now. And the contrast could not be greater and better as well between California and here in the northwest part of Florida. It's such a community. It's such a great community. It really is. My wife, my son, we love it here. And this is how I met you, Marvin. Of course, I was watching you on social media and news like everybody else around the world, pretty much. But we were driving back from dinner. My wife and son and I were driving back from dinner a few weeks ago, out east a little bit. And we decided to come back up 30A. By the way, folks, that's the highway that where Marvin lives and I do as well. I'm a mile off 30A. And we kind of took the slow, pretty route back home. And we were approaching your house, Marvin. And my wife said, "Hey, why don't you stop and see if he's home? He'll come out and talk to you." I thought, you know what? I don't want to bother this poor guy. He's probably getting beat up all the time. My wife's very persuasive. So I stopped, parked the car. I walked over. You were out having, I think, an adult beverage on one of your balconies. And you just came right down and talked to myself and another gentleman. And it really kind of exemplifies the entire community here. People are just human. They're open. They love talking to people, interact. I'm talking all the things, opening doors and stopping at crosswalks for pedestrians, all the things that are not happening too much in California. But, with that, Marvin, I would love for you to talk a little bit about yourself. What's happening right now in your life in a public sense is impressive. It's important. And we're definitely going to talk about that. But when we met that time, we talked for probably a half an hour downstairs in your front yard. And I go, holy crap, I never knew anything about this guy. Of course, why would I, But you have quite a story. You're a self-made man. You're a self-made person. You are an incredibly hard worker. And I would love for the audience to hear about how you got from where you started to where you are now.
Well, I mean, it's a long story because I'm 64 years old, but I grew up in small town America. I grew up in a little town called Hawkinsville, Georgia, and I was Little Marvin at the time. My dad was Big Marvin, and my dad he created values in my family. We had a nice big family. I went to college in Valdosta, Georgia, Valdosta State University. I think I went to school there forever because I had to work my way through. My parents were school teachers, and but we knew what would get you to the next level. And this bottom line is hard work, And I'm living the dream now, And as Martin Luther King said, But I lived in Valdosta for 41 years. I worked at the grocery store, drove school bus, did it all. And did all kind of handy jobs. And of course, I was probably 30 years old when I graduated, but I had to go back to school because, I did a little bit of drinking.
Hey, stop right there. I'm going to interrupt you. You were 30 when you graduated from college.
That is correct because I quit when I was probably 25 and had to go to work. And I got married and I went back to school, and then I made all A's, and I made all A's basically because I opened the book. And so I mean, you lived the good life there at school, but I paid my own way. So nobody was paying my way, so I paid my own way and did my own thing. But I lived a good life in college, and went to work, and I was in the hamburger business probably 19, 20 years. Started at the bottom, and I worked for my ex-father-in-law, which was a great man, and we moved up and ended up being the director of operations and ran the company. And then I moved on and started, in the housing business, flipping houses when I was in my upper 30s. And when I got about 46, I went into the apartment business and started building a few apartments. And I wasn't making much money while I was building because it took a lot of money to get them going. But I moved into the renovating of apartments, and that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. And I've done real well in that. We've probably got 2,200 apartment doors. I probably have 60 employees. The majority of them are women. They do a great job for me. And he went on down to bought a home at the beach, started at back there in the backside of Seaside, and moved up to another home, which they were building. And I didn't realize this house was basically a human billboard here. And I'm like I got to thinking about, Donald Trump, and, you got to believe in what was going on. And now that everybody said that the elections wasn't rigged, but now we're finding out that our elections were rigged. And back in 2000, I had my sign up there. It said Trump 2020, and a little small sign. It was probably 4 foot by 30 foot or 40 foot, whatever I had hanging, hung for a while. And then they, after letting that hang all during political season, they came over and you got to take your sign down, Mr. Peavy. I'm
Now,
like,
stop right there. So you said they let it hang during the political season
they
because
let it
that's
hang during the political season, okay? And
yeah.
like I said, I've had up probably Mark, probably 20 different signs, okay?
And
And
we're looking
the
at some of
small
them right
signs
now.
are the small signs were, a minimum, $600-700, but the big signs now cost me around 2,600, and we've had to get better fabric that breathes. I mean, because the wind will take them down, and I've put a sign back up many a time, and my sign had been egged one time, but they missed the sign altogether. You know what I'm saying? I just had to clean my decks up. But if I'd been there 30 minutes before, somebody might have got shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, it didn't happen. But we've got our signs hanging. I have people come by, want to know when's my next one going up because I've got a printing press in Valdosta, Georgia, that can spit them out pretty quick.
Well,
And
I want to talk about your source of the signs in a minute. So hold
yeah,
on to that. I'm going to come back to that because
yeah.
that was part of the great information you shared with me a few weeks ago when we met.
Yeah, we can I can call them up, and 3 days later, these are small time operators, but they're great operators. I've known them 20 years, and they can spit some signs out. I'll get them up. People said, "How did you get that up so quick?" Well, I mean, my wife bought me a T-shirt the day of. I hung the sign, and of course, I put it on, and we wore it. But the sign dropped, and we probably had 1 million hits on TikTok with the sign. And the big sign with the Trump standing up with the Secret Service or what are those guys were, standing there with him because, we all think it's the inside job anyway. I think our government kind of shot at him like they did Kennedy. And
Well, I listen, and we've done a show or two about the attempted assassination, and
yeah,
coming from law enforcement for 30 years law enforcement. I'm of the position. This is a great one right here. We're looking at here that Trump's bulletproof, and
yeah,
you
yeah.
missed. These are great. These are great signs.
Yeah,
That
those are about $5,000 or $6,000 for every two. They're about $2,700 a piece,
yeah,
but the fabric is really good. The fabric can breathe, and we have to put wire in them because the wind will break the zip ties. I've got them wired in, so we've got that figured out. I might have some bent rails on my house from the signs being jerked on a little bit by the wind, but we're up there, and every time a big storm comes, I have to do a lot of extra praying to make sure they hang.
yeah.
But
I wonder about that because they are sales. But
yeah,
by the way, so
they
I
look,
want to go back
they
though
have
to the
sailed off.
yeah. I want to go back to the company, the gentleman. I guess it's a gentleman, maybe it's a lady who actually makes these. He said in Georgia. Is that right?
Yeah, it's in Valdosta, Georgia. It's Dunlap Signs. They
Yeah. I
have
want you to give him a shout out.
yeah, there's BJ and Jim Dunlap, and they do my signs there in Valdosta, Georgia. They do an excellent job, very easy to work with, and but they can come together and they'll work up, day and night to get them put up for me. And I jump in my truck and I drive down and I do the dropping. And I've got a couple guys, a guy named Jonathan Fuquay and another gentleman that helped me get these signs put up, and his name's Calvin Beard. He lives down there in the neighborhood, and they'll come over and help me get them put up, and it's been great. But I could probably open up the gate and have 100 people help me hang it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'd be
But
one of them. Yeah, there's
yeah,
no doubt about
and
it. Well,
we've
listen,
got the we've only really I commented this in my old road commercial that old road wanted me to do. We only had one or two people that called in my signs, and of course they're liberal Democrat, and I'm not going to call their name out because they'd probably sue me for calling their name out. But they're in Seaside and they have a restaurant, and we have a big Ben Scully. I'm a Ben Scully person, but there's a restaurant there that doesn't like my signs, and they put it out quite a bit, and they've trashed my name, but I don't care. I mean, I'm one of these kind of people. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I want to throw hands, but I have to maintain myself because I realize I'm older now and can't do what I used to do. But
yeah, we're about the same age. I get it.
yeah,
No, this is a very
yeah,
interesting point that you brought up, though, Marvin. This is very
yeah,
important,
yeah,
because we know that you are in you're in a contest right now with the county code
yeah.
and compliance. I want to talk about that, but you raised a really important point here. I want to quote. This is, and I'm assuming that your attorney is still. Is it Mr. Sickler?
Yes, his name's Robbie Sickler. He's out of
Yeah.
Tallahassee, and I have another lady. Her name is Kay Simpson, is who his boss is, and she's one of many cases for Suzanne Harris. They're in
Mhm.
Walton County, and Suzanne is the one that helped me. I was going to pull my sign down because I was going to go by the rules, but she said you never pull that sign down. Well, I didn't take it down, and when I dropped the sign, my heart was beating real fast. I said I'm fixing to catch hell, but we moved on, and the signs
Yeah.
have stayed up. They've been up for 4 or 5 years now, and I've had many a person come by that wanted to pay my whole fine because they believed in what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And of course, I believe in myself. My wife backs me up. We have people that come in every once in a while. We'll get somebody say something nasty about Trump, and of course we'll come out on the porch and make sure you understand who we are and say a few choice cuss words, and most people get utterly amazed that we'll say something back. But I mean, when you're vocal, you've got to stand up. I mean, they're willing to say something, you got to be willing to say something back, and like I said, we use choice cuss words. You know what I'm saying? And it's fun. And
By the way,
but look,
you used
what
to
are you
feud
going
with
to
me
do?
when we met. So
Yeah, but like I said, if you're going to stand for something, be willing to stand all the way up. A lot of our
well,
people in the world are scared to say anything. And if you would say something, you look, well, hell, this wasn't this bad. I can do this. It's like our
Mhm.
guns or anything else. When are you going to start fighting? Our forefathers were good people. They went and fought wars. They fought over being overtaxed like we are now. We're overtaxed, overinsured, and it's just people pulling our purse strings every solid day. And I'm a big businessman, but I see it every day, things that are being done wrong. But nobody's
Mhm.
fighting because everybody's not that they're scared. They have to go to work. Most people that the blue collar workers are out working every day. They have no time to go fight the government. And our government is lying, cheating, and stealing from us. They're the ones pocketing the money across the board, even down to our local governments. And I'm starting to see it more and more. The older I get, I'm like going, well, I didn't know this. And it's just like there's so many things coming out now. But Donald Trump has opened our eyes. He's opened everybody's eyes. You had this Supreme Court law, and I mentioned this before, the Chevron difference here. And
Yes.
it's all those laws, man, if you start reading them, like, we don't need permits for anything. You know what I'm saying? Because uh, the bureaucrats cannot make laws, even down to your zoning.
Right.
It has to be a government job. And you're like, what are we going to do? Well, it's time to stand up. We've hearing a lot on the news from our Democrat senators and congressmen. Well, we're not going to let Trump go back into office. We're going to sit here and we're going to have a civil war. We're not going to let him go in. Well, if he's elected, he's going in. He already was elected the last time. And what did they do? Our senators, congressmen all signed off on it saying this was a legit race. Well, the Republicans, our rhinos, they were all involved. Every one of them were involved, and except maybe a few handful there that stood behind him, and things. Now we're finding out. We're finding out now in Georgia. We had all these votes that were uncounted. I live in Georgia, and our our governor, was going to do all these investigations until his daughter's boyfriend got killed on the interstate. And I'm not going to detail on that, but I really feel like there might have been a bomb in the car that went off or something to stop him, to shut him up from letting him do the inspections of the computers, but they went to hell the next day, you know. And then you had the Georgia investigator that died that was investigating the case. They knew something, and
Mhm.
with a stroke of a pen right now, Ratzenberger or Kemp could go in here and let them do this audit here of the votes, but they will not let them do it, and they're not going to do it because why? They're involved. You know it, I know it,
Well,
and
look,
America knows it.
well, we could certainly do about 20 shows just on the 2020 election, and we probably should. Maybe I'll have you back on and talk about it specifically. But so you did bring something up. You didn't actually use names, which I totally understand. But about certain people complaining about the banners here. And I want to quote your lawyer, Bobby Sickler here. That is the very definition of selective enforcement. They're not working based on an ordinance. They're working based on who files the complaint, Sickler told Dykes. Now, Dykes is the judge, or the original judge,
Yes,
earlier on. Is that right? Yeah.
that is
That
correct.
creates, yep, that creates an adversarial environment that pits neighbor against neighbor. Sickler also contends the signed ordinance violates First Amendment rights of free speech. That Paige Weavy, your wonderful wife, Paige Peavy said, I said Weavy, Paige Peavy said, is what she believes is at the core of her family's decision to defy Walton County, and the reason so many have taken their side in the issue is because they are not enforcing this code objectively, fairly, and evenly. That you have some fairly powerful people in the county that are complaining about it. So they're actually the squeaky wheels getting the grease here. And this is a contention of your lawyer. It's a contention to yourself and your wife. And you know, I wonder if that's happening. I'm getting a little ahead of myself with this, but it brings me to a point. I'd like for you to talk about it, Marvin. And again, this is not in Walton County where you and I live or have our residences, and not really any place to speak of it in the Panhandle, the Emerald Coast, Northwest Florida. But you look around general across the country in California, Washington D.C., Atlanta, you know, other certain places. We see all kinds of flags and images flying, even on government buildings, painted on streets, whether it's BLM or it's a pride flag. Hell, Palestinian flags we've seen flying in places in Washington, D.C. Now, they've been pulled down, some of those, or maybe all of those, but they're not getting the same kind of pushback that you are here from certain
It
people here in
all
Walton County.
depends, like you said, it all depends on who you are. What do you stand for? Well, I'm not going to put a Palestinian flag in front of my house. I mean, I'm a USA. I fly my flags. Do I have to replace those? Yes, they're replaced, but I keep two flying. Do I want to? I'll go to the beach, and I'll put my signs out there on the beach, and I'll have 98% of the people come by. Every once in a while, you might get somebody, but you know. We're going to stand up and get in their faces like they want to get in our faces. But you got to believe in what you, like I told you before, stand up, stand tall. And you know what? I have other people like, can you get me a sign? I want to hang one from my house. But you know what? You got to be dedicated. You got to hang it every day. You got to, if it falls
Yeah.
down, jump in your car and ride back down there and hang it back up. But, and like I said, it's financially, I have spent the money because I believe, people say, well, you work for Donald Trump. Well, I don't work for Donald Trump, but like I said, I'll do anything I can to help him because, like I said, he stood up for me. And like, if it's not him that they want us. They want to run over us, and they've been running over us for 60 years, Mark, as long as you and I have been alive, and they're going
Yeah.
to continue to run over. But like I said, our Supreme Court has put out these laws now and stating, but who's going to stand up and go fight them? Until you fight them, and they have realized they have no jurisdiction to do anything to you, then what are you going to do? You got to go fight them, and you might not win any money. It's not about winning money. It's about standing up for what you right that you do, and and fighting everything. And it's like I said, we have. You look at around the stuff that's going on, and I look around. I read every night, and I don't read the news. What I read, I listen to my TikTok, and I know half of it's crap, but I read on X and the stuff that Elon Musk is putting out. And but
Mhm.
you realize what's going on, and you see it, and but I'm sitting here, and what am I going to do? What do I stand for? Well, I mean, I want to go in here and because I was in Washington D.C. Matt Getz invited me up there. He and Suzanne Harris, and we went to Washington, and I went in the Capitol, met a lot of people. Uh, a lot of Congress people, but they were gone to dinner and they came back and they impeached Mayorkas. Okay. They had
Hmm.
been to dinner, come back. Some of them you could tell were drinking. They wouldn't let me have my phone, but the guys, it was like a joke when they impeached it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They knew
Right.
that he wasn't going to be impeached in Congress. I mean, Senate. So here he is. He's still there, still causing problems. And, he's involved with ruining our country. And, it seems like, they're so far ahead of us, the Democrats, in putting their people in place. Well, now they're reaping the benefits and shoving it down our throat. But you know what? I think we're woke now. Even our young people, like I told you, I have a lot of
Yeah.
people on TikTok that follow me, and a lot of young people now have woken up. Their parents are in telling them what we've got to do, and our younger generation is now going to be backing us behind. Not, we're going to have major problems. And like I said, Trump's got to go back in. You heard the guy from New York the other day, Jamie, whatever his name is, Congressman. We're going to cause a civil war.
Raskin.
Yeah, Raskin. And I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
Big deal, dude. In the end of the day, who wants to have a civil war? No one wants to die. But if you know what do you
Hmm.
stand for? You got to stand for something. And you know what? Me and you probably lived a good life. I've lived a good life. But you know what? I could have lived an even better life if I didn't have all this crap being shoved down my throat. You know what I'm saying? Like being overtaxed, the property insurance for my apartments have tripled. I mean, it's gotten outrageous to even try to make a living. I don't care who you are and how hard you work. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yep. Well, Marvin, you mentioned Elon Musk, and you really about talking about communication. By the way, there's so much you talked about. Great points, great topics about the young people following you on TikTok, and this is so important about young people, about a generational change here. Um, People like you talking about standing up. I talk about on the show all the time. I push as hard as I can that each of us, if we want change, we just can't hope someone else takes the forefront, takes the point. We, each of us individually, have to be at some level the instrument of change. Do something every day. Send $5 to a particular candidate. Start your podcast. Send comments. Talk. Call your friends. Do something. Talk to your family members. You have to actually take action. If you want something different, each of us have to do something different, and you're doing a lot different. And what you're doing is helping to, in a positive way, influence a younger generation that'll be around after you and I are gone. And this is what we need to do. We all have to live in the future if we want to see it, tomorrow different. Elon Musk, of course, another example about this. When he bought X, of course, everybody loved him. He's making electric cars around the world and blah blah blah, and that's fantastic. Until he bought Twitter and opened it up and stopped, for the most part, all the shadow banning, all the censorship, and all the true misinformation. When he opened it up, he became Satan incarnate to the left, to the mainstream media. They hate him because he's actually opening the avenues for people to truly communicate, truly go ahead and publish, self-publish the views that they hold without any censorship. And this by itself should show all of us really which side of the aisle here. In general, nobody's perfect. Listen, you and I are conservatives, and we wish that our party was better than it is. No one's perfect, but there is one party better than the other when it comes to free speech, when it comes to individual determination for your life, when it comes to lower taxes, when it comes to the cost of living, when it comes to individual freedoms. One side is better than the other. I tell a story all the time about where you came from. I'm a mixed race. My dad was black. My mom was mixed race. They both came from the deep South, Dallas, Texas, during the Depression. And how they got ahead, how they owned 3 homes and put 4 of their 5 kids through college before they died, well before they died, is that they worked hard. They did the right thing in the face of terrible, terrible circumstances, of Jim Crow, of horrible, horrible things that they had to face throughout their life. But they had no choice but to work hard, do the right thing, and life worked out pretty well for them. And people like you be an example of working hard. And that's why I wanted you to talk about your bio at the beginning, because it's not like you woke up yesterday with the benefits in life that you experience now. You worked incredibly hard to get where you got. You didn't rely on government. By the way, I'm guessing you didn't get any money back from your tuition from Joe Biden, did you, Marvin?
No, I didn't get any. And matter of fact, I have a daughter that lives down there. I'm not going to give her name because she'd probably kill me, but she lives down there at the beach and lives and sells real estate. But when she sold some real estate. I made her go ahead and pay her college tuition off. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then she called me back one day. I don't really like you because you made me spend my money, my 20, 30,000 she paid back, but she did it with a big sale. And then she came back. So look, they didn't necessarily get what they wanted, but at the end of the day, she paid her bills. We did what we had to do, and like I said, I worked my way through, so I didn't have anybody to pay back. But I mean, like I said, and we get back to like you're saying right now, we're fighting battles. It's not about Republican, Democrat, because there's no Democratic Party anymore. That's a socialist party or a communist party. And Republicans, we have a lot of rhinos. We're seeing some of them that are backing, you know, the woman, I'm not even call her name, and her vice president pick. We've heard major stories about him. But I mean, that is not who our country is. We're fighting good against evil. And we have a lot of great Christian people in our country, and we have a lot of great people, period. But we also have devil is in our country, and the devil's been in our country for years, and we have to fight it. And it's like Trump said, we're fighting a spiritual battle here. And you know what? We will come out ahead because we have the main man on our side, and that's God. Everybody has God, but like I said, the biggest thing is we're fighting the devil right now, and things are going to get better. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get better because we're going to win the battle. You're talking about say 85 to 15% of us, we're 85, but they have the bigger mouse. And you know what? It's
Mhm.
time we stood up as people and started, saying how you feel. Let people know. And believe me, I tell you to your face how I feel. And I don't care. I've had people that look at me kind of funny, but they won't say nothing back to me. I reckon because I'm a big guy. And, but I may say it, here I am. I go to restaurants and, I go in and people want to shake my hand. I shake their hand and my wife just lets me talk because that's all I know how to do is talk real good. But, I have a lot of people buying my meals and doing a lot of things for me. But it's very interesting, and I've had a great time, down here doing the signs. And like I said, I think I'll never pull them down. I might have, something up there that says, "Have a great day today," or "Have a big sunshine," or I've even thought about putting a real billboard up there that is these ones that have the video screens on it, and just do it. You know what I'm saying? And make it happen.
Well, I hope you do because I'm right down the street from you,
Yeah,
and
we'll change.
it,
You and I
it
will change the video every week, and
yeah,
come down there and do it from home, and just have all kind of stuff going up. I really have thought about that. If my porch could hold it, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah,
but I mean, look, they've got one down the street, with Vince Scully painted on it. Like I said, I do like Vince Scully,
yes,
great guy. And but that's their belief, Mine's
right,
Trump, is it political or whatever? I'm not trying to shove anything down nobody's throat. It's just what I believe in. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, listen, free speech, First Amendment is exactly right. Now, Ben, we always talk on the show rule of law. We support it. We believe in the rule of law. It doesn't mean that every law is right, and everybody has the right to challenge an ordinance, challenge a law, and things like that. And that's exactly what you're doing. So, to that end, what's next, Marvin? I know this is going through the
Well,
courts
I
right
want
now.
to I
It's
want
it's,
to
it's
say
kind
one
of
thing. I want to
on
say this
hold. Yeah,
started this started 4 or 5 years ago.
yeah.
The code enforcement guy came out and said, "Look, I like your sign, but I got to give you a warning." He warned me. Then he came back. They put a real estate sign in my backyard against my gates, and they stole somebody's real estate sign. A guy that advertised pressure washing and put their code enforcement their letter to show up at court. Of course, I wasn't home. I didn't see it. So I missed the first
Hmm.
court date, but they got back in. I had to hire attorneys. And they were harassing me on Father's Day 4 years ago. I mean, calling me on Sunday at my home where my kids were enjoying Father's Day, and it started harassing me. And then, I just got crazy, and because I can do that sometimes when I get perturbed about something going on, because it wasn't right. But here they are harassing me out, and and we still have the judge out here that has not ruled. And
Yeah,
after a certain time, you got to say, well, what the hell's going on? And
yeah.
really, what the hell's going on? He could rule, but here's the deal: they're not going to rule. They're hoping that after the election, I'll take my sign down. Of course,
Hmm.
there'll be a new sign up. It might say, "Have a lovely day," and Trump is your president. Who's your daddy? You know what I'm saying? But well, provoke a few, but and look, I'd probably have them coming in there with drones trying to tear my sign down. But end of the day, I'm very hard headed, so I'm going to fight to the end. I'm here. I'm for America. I'm for we the people. And that's what I stand for. We the people. And that's you, me, and everybody that wants to have a good place to live. We look and, Biden went in, even though he was not officially elected. went in and we're going to build back better. Well, you know what? I'm looking around. There's nothing built back better nowhere. No roads, no infrastructure, no nothing. And they can't. What do they stand for? They stand for nothing. They're staying in the basement. They're politicking. I mean, Kamala Harris has big concerts to even get people to show up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when she speaks for 9, 10 minutes. Nothing. You hear nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm wondering how she's going to do an interview when she can't even stay on the stage 10 minutes without cackling like a damn hyena. You know, but we'll find out. You know.
Well, that's cackling,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
whatever her
I
name is,
heard that.
Kamala. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I always forget.
And then we
Well,
got her
listen, Marvin, I
backup.
think you wound it up perfectly there about individual freedom and doing the right thing, and I know that you are a busy man. We're very grateful for the time that you've given us today. We're going to have you back on again. I
Yeah,
think
I
as
would love to come back
oh yeah,
and do
I
another one.
think
And
we talked.
like I said, I have no problem talking. But if you want to come back and come out and check me out, come down and see me, man. We'll have a drink together one afternoon.
Yeah, we talked about maybe doing a show actually from your house, and that would be fun as well.
I would love to do that, man. Love to
Well,
do it.
that
We've
makes
got
two of us.
a big weekend on what is it? The holiday coming up, and would love to do it out
Liberty.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marvin Peavy, a true leader, a true patriot. God bless you, my friend, and we look forward to seeing you again. I'm going to pop over there and bother you just off the grid
Oh,
sometime
I'd
and say
love for you to
hi.
come over. You see the big white truck in the back, you know I'm home.
Sounds like a
All right,
plan.
man. Thank you. Nice talking
Thank
with
you
you,
so
Mark.
much. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
folks. Hey, tell your friends, everybody out there listening right now, subscribe to YouTube. Click the button on these videos. We got to break the log jam with YouTube. You know they hate us, and that's fine. I like being hated because you know what? You judge what you're doing based on your enemies. So, Marvin, thank you again. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time in Your
Thank you.
Leo Nation.
All right, man. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.